let's talk about the ketogenic diet and how you should be exercising for the first month. And then I want to talk about your performance and how it's going to change for the first couple months. I think a lot of people understand that your performance is going to decline for the first couple weeks, but then there's a lot of ambiguity on when that performance is expected to return. I think this causes a lot of frustration, especially among athletes, because you don't have the proper expectations, you don't have a timeline for when you can see your performance start to return and exceed your baseline. So it creates a lot of confusion and frustration. So first and foremost, let's say that today we're starting a proper ketogenic diet. You're going really high on fat, you're really limiting your carbohydrate intake, and you're making sure that you're not way over consuming protein, which will delay your transition into ketosis. So we started that today. For the first 2 or 3 days, I really recommend high intensity training, and specifically with weights. The reason is because we need to get rid of all the stored carbohydrates in our body as fast as possible. And the best way to do this is to get up into that anaerobic range, really high intensity exercise, and specifically weight training. Now, after you burn all that stored glycogen, you're gonna know, because all of a sudden your body is going to be forced to shift towards fat metabolism, towards creating ketones in order to meet its metabolic needs, and you're gonna feel it, okay? You're gonna feel pretty crappy from typically day 3, all the way up through day 14, although that can be much shorter for some people. So between 3 and 14 days and 3 and 7 or 8 days for most people, you're basically entering that metabolic overhaul where your body is forced to switch from being a carbohydrate burner to being a fat burner. And this isn't like a flip of a switch, right? So I liken this to, let's say you have a gasoline burning car, right? The average car, and you take it into a specialty shop and say, hey guys, I don't want to burn gas anymore. I want you to make this an electric car, right? That's not a 1 hour, procedure. That's not like them going in and just switching a button in your car and now it burns electric, right? They have to rip out the engine. They have to rip out all this stuff. It's going to be a multi-week long process, right? So the same thing's happening in your body. It's going to take a while, okay? So the day 3 through 14 is typically what people call the keto flu. You get some negative symptoms, headaches, you're irritable, you're sluggish, you're tired, etc. So during that time frame, it's really important to keep exercising. A lot of people, for obvious reasons, stop exercising because they don't feel well. But if you want to shorten that keto flu day 3 through 14 to make it as small as possible, you should keep exercising at a very low intensity. So now we want to shift totally away from high intensity interval training, and we want to shift to aerobic, very low intensity, and really hit that fat burning aerobic rate. So you're going to be wanting like a slow jog, guys. Again, for athletes out there, you guys way overdo this part. Everyone hears me when I say this to them, and then they go and they still try to train at a high level during this time. It doesn't work. So just go jog, go walk for some people for anywhere from 30 to 60 minutes a day. That's really going to help stimulate fat metabolism in your body and really help shorten the time spent in that kind of negative keto flu period. So day 1 through 3 or 1 through 2, high intensity weight training, get rid of that glycogen. Then day 3 through 14, you're gonna want to shift towards like a fat burning exercise, very low intensity endurance cardio type thing for 30 minutes to 60 minutes a day. Then between days 15 and 30 essentially, so the second half of that month, it's gonna vary considerably based on what your performance could be. So for a lot of people, they're still kind of feeling a little tired, irritable. They don't really want to go to the gym. They don't really want to work out. For you, just keep doing that low intensity aerobic training for as long as you need to until your energy and your mood and everything totally returns. Typically, I've never seen that take longer than 21 days. Again, for most people, that ends at day 14. And then you can kind of start working your way back into a moderate intensity training program, kind of get back into start doing the same type of training activities you did before your nutritional change. So that's kind of what you can expect for the first month. That's what you should be doing in terms of exercise. Get rid of the glycogen, promote fat metabolism, and then kind of work your way back towards doing some of the exercises that you were doing before this change. Now, let's talk about what you can expect from a performance standpoint and how your performance is going to change when you start this diet to when it's going to bottom out at its lowest, and then how it's going to start coming back. So for most people, they get that the first 2 weeks is going to suck. You're not going to train well, you're not going to perform well. I think a lot of people also understand that it could last for up to a month, and that's kind of where the conventional knowledge ends. Most people don't have any idea what happens after a month. And one of the things I see is that both people, just the average person, and athletes, They give a diet a month, and if it's not working really, really great, they throw it in the trash and they start over. And the issue is that what we'll see in a second is that it takes way more than a month for your body to become fully fat adapted, fully keto adapted. And so we'll actually start seeing that your performance will continue to basically regain its strength and then surpass baseline for months and months and months. So I drew up this little graph to kind of show you what you can expect from your performance against time, okay? So this would be a positive change in performance, this would be a negative change in performance, and obviously this is time. We're talking 1 month, 2 month, 3 month, 4 month, okay? So obviously first month, big decline in performance. But after about 4 weeks, so after about that 1 month mark, you should see the lowest amount of performance you will see. For some people, this will actually be skewed a little bit this way, and you'll actually start regaining some of your performance about 1 month mark. But for easiness, we'll just say at 1 month, you're at your lowest. And then between months 1 and months 3, you are regaining performance to baseline, right? Remember, this is where you started. So it's really obvious that a lot of athletes and people that are looking for performance benefits from the ketogenic diet, they get frustrated in the 1 to 3 month range because, wow, I'm still not performing as well as I did when I was eating a bunch of carbs. What gives? And they quit and they try again. But here's the thing, and there's a bunch of research showing this. If you're interested, look at Volek and Finney. Those are kind of the two big researchers right now looking at the ketogenic diet in terms of performance, specifically endurance performance, but they're actually now seeing a ton of benefit in anaerobic performance too. But so at month 3 is where we return to baseline. And then further adaptations go from months 3 to month 6, and there are even researchers out there and a good amount of research showing that those metabolic adaptations continue up to a year. So that means that between months 3 and months 12, you are just continuing to improve on your performance from baseline. So for obvious reasons here, you've got to give it some time. If you don't have, essentially half a year to try this out, then you're not going to really see, from a performance standpoint, obviously there's a ton of other benefits outside of the performance realm, metabolically, digestion, cognition, disease management, etc. But if you're looking for performance benefits, it's very important to understand that it's going to take some time. So I hope this helps. Again, it's a little summary, so you don't have to go back and rewatch this. Day 1, 2, and maybe 3 of the ketogenic diet, you should be getting rid of the glycogen. High intensity training, try to get in and lift some weights. And then days 3 through about 14, really back off. Get into that very low intensity aerobic range and try to walk or jog for 30 to 60 minutes every single day. And then that could continue past day 14, depending on how you feel. If you start feeling better, you can start throwing in some of your old training techniques, start getting back into the kind of moderate intensity training. I still wouldn't recommend high intensity, weight training until essentially week 4. And then again, your performance, you're gonna expect a big drop the first month. That's gonna level out at about 1 month, and then you'll start to come back to baseline between month 2 and 3. At month 3, you should be at the baseline that you had of performance before your nutritional change, and then those metabolic adaptations will continue all the way up to 6 months, possibly up to a year, and you'll just continue to get better at whatever it is that you're doing. So I strongly encourage that all athletes should, in their off season, they should try this because, the benefits are there and can be very powerful. And again, if you are looking for the performance aspect of the ketogenic diet, make sure you give it enough time. I hope this answers your questions. If you have any specifics about yourself or what you really should be doing in terms of exercise or et cetera, comment below, ask me, I'm happy to help.